Some more fool's logic where people can't take responsibility for their own choices. So I've seen a lot of people get mad that I don't use Facebook. I'm not even kidding. They're making a choice to use Facebook. That is their choice. But there is talking to a person, calling person, texting that comes first. How many businesses do you know in the area that will do your doctor's appointment scheduling through Facebook? How many police officers, when they pull you over for speeding, tell you to go on Facebook to collect the ticket? Or do they pull you over, walk to your window, and have a conversation with you there? How many people get their degrees, their actual degrees, just by talking on Facebook? Or do they go to a website, go to a college course on a school website, and then have to make phone calls for tuition and other types of things part of the service? Talking to people is very important. And remember, Facebook is fake. Everybody puts their happy go lucky faces. They all try to make themselves look all good. They hide all their mistakes. They don't take pictures of their mistakes. They try to make sure that nothing is all looking too bad. Oh, this breakfast I'm eating has to look all pretty. Oh yeah, this meatloaf that's mashed all together that tastes great with peas and all this. Let's not take a picture of that because it doesn't look good. I mean, it tastes great, but it doesn't look good. Meanwhile, let's take a picture of this really pretty plate that I don't even know what tastes like. It's all fake. Facebook is fake. Hackers are in there. The government is watching. A lot of information is given. Anybody could track you down in 30 seconds. I was able to track down my father's priest in less than 30 seconds. I was able to track down the high school friends and my half brothers through Facebook. When I lose track of somebody like my half brothers, or if I want to know what priest my father goes to, or stuff like that, guess how I figure it out? Through Facebook. And I don't even need to be their friends. It's all you got to do is friend somebody else randomly, like the church or some other group that they have, and then you get access to their pictures, and it's stupid. Anybody who wants to give away their life like that, you better have a good apartment or home to run away to. That's another thing. You get a lot of these people with fool's logic who think that their rules apply to the homeless. Like, oh, if somebody robs you at knife point, give them your money and make a police report out. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you can go hiding in an apartment and you have a car to drive away the scene of the crime. But if you live downtown Lowell, somebody holds you up with a knife downtown Lowell, and then tomorrow you're going to be in downtown Lowell, and the next week you're going to be in downtown Lowell, and you're going to run into the guy that held you at knife point over and over and over. It's probably a good idea not to give him your money and probably not report him. Even though I would make a police report out if I mean, that is depending on the situation like I have. It's probably not a good idea in most situations to do so, unless you're me and you know everybody in the town. Then maybe you can get away with it. But if you don't have that type of knowing everybody in the town deal, then you're screwed. Like if I move to another town and somebody does this and I know I'm going to have to run into them 5 days later, and that's not a good idea. That's a good way to get killed. They will smash your brains into the cement. They will cripple your legs, and the police will do nothing because you're a poor homeless person. If you do not have an apartment or a home to run away and hide in, then guess what? You have to handle stuff on your own like I had to. You can call the police and try, but then the killer will come back and beat the living shit out of you next week, and you will have nowhere to hide. And if you want to run away into another town, guess what? You're not going to make it to court because he will be all over there. And on top of that, remember, you have to sleep outside in any new town you go to because you're homeless. So people forget that is different for person to person. Not everybody has a car to drive. Some people like me can drive, have every legal right to drive, but they actually follow Jesus, and I don't want anybody else getting hurt. I have a disability. We've known I had a disability for 25 years. Nobody wants to look into this disability. My mother wanted to hide what she did to me. She also knew what was going on and lied to my father and doctors constantly, moving me from state to state. If I did drive, somebody else would have got hurt. If I don't drive, I get hurt. Okay, I made a choice a long time ago to help others, not hurt them. I worked with disabled children. I still work with disabled, really hard elderly people. I've devoted my life to helping others. I mean, I helped my whole family by taking abuse constantly. If I wasn't there, my nephew would have been crippled. My brother would have been in jail most likely. My sister would have never had a connection with my father anymore. The whole family would have been broken into pieces by this crazy woman's actions. But instead, the less than human orphan was adopted, and so I just sat there and took it all. I mean, people saw these things constantly at age 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, but it was me. It was never somebody else in the family, and nobody ever cared about the little orphan kid that came from a 15-year-old mother. No. If I get an overdose, leave him to sleep it off. If my nephew or niece accidentally take a pill on the floor, they go to the emergency room. You see the difference? I'm given 5 pills plus some pills I'm not prescribed. I'm experiencing an overdose. My nervous system and brain is getting fried. I'm not able to see out of my eyeballs. I'm not able to feel with my hands. I get to a pile of newspapers. My mother realizes there's an emergency because I'm screaming, help, help, help. And she decides I should sleep it off when they tell her, bring me to the emergency room. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm hanging up. Just let them sleep it off. Well, that's the difference. I'm less than human. See, I'm an orphan, little orphan kid. So we can destroy his health and we can let him sleep it off so that my mother doesn't get in any trouble at the hospital. But my nephew or niece, oh, no, no, no. We got to make sure they go to the hospital, even if there's just one pill on the floor. We can't have them get hurt. No way. But Zach, overdose, destroying his health for life, no big deal. Or Epicac. Should we give Seth a spanking if he says something he's not supposed to, one of my nephews? Absolutely not. You are not to put any hands on my nephew, or I will personally cut off your testicles. But little Zach over there, who came from an orphanage, no, you can pour a whole bottle out of your Epicac bottle right into a cup and force him to drink it. You can pull a ruler and smack him in the face. You can smack him around in a car for nothing, absolutely nothing. I even got smacked once for being sick. I was sick at school. Now, my mother and father wanted to force me to go to school. I went along with it. I was a good boy. I did what I was told. I even did my classes. But I was clearly very pale, and I was making trips to the bathroom, and I was dry heaving up a little slime. And they heard this, and I told them I'm fine. My mother told me I'm not allowed to come home. I'm sick, but I'm not allowed to be home. And I went through most of the day, almost the whole day. But I looked so pale and sick through the whole day, they wanted me to go straight home, and they called my mother. My mother came, and she was mad that she had to pick me up. So then when I got in the car, she started smacking me around with her back of her hand right in the face as I'm already pale and sick. At this point, she has me leave the car and leaves me there to be sick in the parking lot. So then I end up going in and I tell the secretary what happened, and my father picks me up, which they don't want to discuss anything about. And there was another time this happened, but I think I was in trouble for something. There was another time I was in trouble for something. It was about the end of the day, school's over. I'm at the front. They call my mother to pick me up. She backhands me in the car, leaves me there. Same thing, I go in and I tell them what's going on. I've had this stuff happen several times, but nobody cares. It's okay. It's okay because it's me. You're allowed to beat me. You're allowed to kick me. You're allowed to make sure to malpractice me. You can pour poisons with me visibly getting worse my entire life. I can lose weight until I'm a bone. I can vomit all day long. You can burn me, kick me. You can use me for free labor. You can hook me up to a goddamn horse wagon and have me pull it and refuse to pay me, and nobody's gonna fucking care. Nobody cares. Even at a young age, at 7 years old, nobody cared that I was OD'd on a pile of newspapers. You think anybody cared in Texas that I'm trying to ask a doctor for help and my mother just lied to my father and the doctor and is now doing everything to cut off that doctor and the teachers from helping me? Nobody cared that those doctors and teachers were cut off. You think anybody cared that I was being put in a program in New Mexico, that if anybody even just opened their eyeball? I mean, when you drive up to the building, there's a field full of rattlesnakes and giant red anthills up to your knees. So it's clearly bad, and the dorms are clearly bad, and you're only allowed to see your child 1 hour a month. Clearly bad. The children are screaming and crying, no, 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 this is bad. This is very, very clearly bad. That they don't have funding. Sorry, not funding. They don't have the funds to properly put this place together because they're building a pool and some other buildings after I leave. So they got to get a lot more money together to build all these big new facilities. So they don't have the money right now to be paying like top-notch people. They're going to do that when the building is built 3 years after I'm already out of there. What we get is a dirt lot, a cabin. We're not allowed to sleep in our beds. We get to sleep on the floor. For the first 3 months, we got a teacher, but obviously she didn't want to commute and they weren't offering her enough money, so she dropped off. So we had extracurricular activities as our education for the whole 18 months where we just played outside. We, looked for fossils, stuff like that. Maybe took some hot glue and built a little house or something. Maybe somebody reads us a story. And we got all different age groups too, remember that. So you got kids as young as 7, 6 years old, and then you got kids as old as 13, 14 years old. So all different grade types, and it's not like we got different schools. They don't got buses picking us up. Nope, it's just one cabin up in the mountains. So how much education can you give with a bunch of staff members with no teaching degrees up in the cabins of New Mexico, no learning material, and no teacher? And all the kids are different grades. Of course, very bad situation. But not for me, of course, because I'm less than human. I'm at the level of mouse. See, a mouse you can poison. A mouse, that's a great education for a mouse. So that's the level my family treated at me. I'm a rat. I'm a mouse. I'm something you can bite and pinch and burn. I'm something you can poison with rat poison. I'm something that that's a great education. Playing out in a field looking for fossils, that's great for a mouse. No other mouse gets to do that. But for a human child, that's terrible. That is absolutely fucking terrible. That's abusive, neglect. The things I went through are so fucked up, and they do permanent damage to your insides of your body and outside. My body has been permanently damaged so many times, but I wasn't allowed to go to the doctors during the overdose. I wasn't allowed to go to the doctors during the seizure in New Mexico. Nobody even told me it was called a seizure. They just told me it was called freezing outside, and they just left me there while all the other kids were inside, and I was out there by myself for 2 hours. That's what they called it. They called it, hey, you went unconscious by yourself, and you didn't hear us calling? That's what they called it. But now, as an adult, after 25 years of knowing one instant after another and another and another, I know that this stuff is wrong, and I know I have to get better. That's simple. What my mother did to me was wrong. What my mother did to me will cause permanent health issues. I am feeling pain and suffering and disabilities. I have to handle my disabilities, get better, so I can hold a job and move on with my life. That's where we're at. Now, my father's still at, no, she did nothing wrong. She's an angel. No, 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 you're a liar. You're a thief. Anything that lets me go on to the sunset. I want to run away and go in to hide in my house. I want to be in my house already. I want to be on the beach already. Don't you dare pull me into the real world. No, my second wife was an angel. My father's still at that delirious fantasy that I was believing at age 9. my mother knows all, and she's a genius, and Santa Claus is real, and I need to take all these pills because my mother says I gotta take all these pills, and my mother put a pill different in here, but I gotta take it because my mother knows all. I feel sick, I feel weird, but my mother says I'm just sick, but they're not bringing me to the hospital, but my mother knows all. She's a nurse, and she says take these pills, and I get sick, but my mother knows all. And my mother's an angel, and my mother knows all. My mother's an angel, and my mother knows all. And my mother's an angel, and my mother knows best for me. And my mother knows best for me. My mother knows all. Well, that was a fucking fantasy, and no wonder if somebody's hurting you, you don't just go along with, but they know all, and they know best for me. They're smacking me out of love, and they're giving me these pills that are making me sick out of love. That's a fantasy that only can last so long. And I was stuck. My mother told me to jump. She wanted me to believe her. She told me that getting me sick and poisoning me was a good thing. She came up with fantasies like that my swimming medal I won in an orphanage meant all these things they didn't mean. She told me that because I was trying to play with a match and learn how to light a match, that meant I'm a fire setter and I'm trying to burn down the house, even though I had no intention of that house disappearing. That was not my intention. Nothing was getting lit on fire. The only thing that was getting lit was the match head. I was trying to figure out how to get the match head to spark. First time I've ever seen that before, I wanted to see it again. I couldn't figure it out. But my mother comes screaming in there and tells me that that's called burning the house down, and she drills it into me and drills it into me and drills it into me that this is called burning the house down. This is called burning the house down. You need it. Yes, that's what you're doing. You're trying to burn the house down. That's what you're doing. And just drills it into a 5-year-old's head. So fucked up shit. And then I'm supposed to go through this during my whole entire childhood, my whole entire teenage years, all the way up to age 19, one after another. Then she dies, of course, because she's popping pills she shouldn't be and mixing them with alcohol. What happens when you take pills that you're not supposed to be?